My husband threw away my snacks and maternity clothes, insisting I get back in shape. So I took our baby and left without telling him. When I met Jake in college, it felt like we were perfectly in sync. We bonded over our shared love for fitness, morning runs, late-night gym sessions, and meal prepping together. Exercise wasn't just a habit for us. It was the foundation of our relationship. I loved the way we pushed each other, celebrating every small victory. Back then, staying in shape felt effortless because we had nothing but time and energy to dedicate to it. But life after college wasn't as simple. As we built our careers and moved in together, I found myself drowning in responsibilities. Cooking, cleaning, errands, while Jake's routine stayed the same. He still hit the gym every morning, still tracked his calories, still prioritized fitness above everything else. I, on the other hand, barely had time to breathe. By the time I got home from work, I was too exhausted to even think about a workout. I told myself it was just a phase, that I'd find my balance again soon. First, I tried to keep up with him. I'd wake up early to run before work, forcing myself to push through the exhaustion. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep pace. The difference was clear. Jake only had to focus on himself, while I had to juggle everything else. He never had to worry about laundry, meal planning, or cleaning up after dinner. I handled it all. And yet, he never seemed to notice the weight of it. Instead, he'd casually mention how we used to be better about fitness, as if I had simply lost motivation. The comments started small. A joking remark when I skipped a run, a passing mention of how we should get back on track. But over time they started to sting. It wasn't just about fitness anymore. It felt like a quiet judgment on how I had changed. The girl he met in college, the one who could match him mile for mile, was slipping away. And deep down, I wondered if he saw that as a problem. One night, after a particularly stressful day, I finally admitted how exhausted I was. I told Jake that I couldn't keep up the same routine we had in college, that life had changed. He frowned, confused. "We all have the same 24 hours, he said. "You just have to prioritize." His words cut deeper than I expected. I wanted to argue, to tell him that my 24 hours weren't the same as his. But instead I just went to bed, silently wondering if he'd ever understand. 3 years into our marriage, I found out I was pregnant. When I told Jake, his face lit up with excitement, and for a moment, I felt like we were completely on the same page again. He was incredibly supportive throughout my pregnancy, making sure I ate well and got enough rest. He even cut back on late-night gym sessions to spend more time with me, something I deeply appreciated. For the first time in a while, I felt like he was prioritizing our life together over his fitness routine. As my body changed, I embraced it fully. I marveled at how it adapted to grow a new life, even as I gained weight and my usual workouts became impossible. Jake assured me that I was beautiful, though he'd occasionally mention how excited he was for us to hit the gym together again after the baby was born. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was too focused on preparing for motherhood, choosing baby names, and setting up the nursery. Fitness, for once, wasn't my priority, and I was okay with that. When our son, Noah, was finally born, my whole world shifted. Every sleepless night, every feeding, every little sigh he made consumed me in a way I never imagined. My own needs became secondary, and exercise was the last thing on my mind. My body felt foreign, but I refused to pressure myself. My doctor reassured me that postpartum recovery took time and that I didn't need to rush into losing weight. I believed her. Thought Jake did too. But as the weeks went by, I noticed a change in him. He still adored Noah, but he started making subtle comments, things like, "Maybe a little exercise would help with your energy," or "Remember how good you used to feel after a run?" First, I brushed it off. I knew he meant well, that he wanted me to feel like myself again. But as the comments became more frequent, I started wondering if he was actually worried about me, or about my body. I tried explaining that I was healing, that my priority was taking care of Noah. But Jake didn't seem to understand. "I just don't want you to get too comfortable," he said one night as I sat nursing our son. The words lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken. For the first time since giving birth, I felt something new creeping in, doubt. Doubt about whether Jake still saw me the same way. Doubt about whether our relationship had changed in a way I hadn't noticed yet. At first, I tried to ignore Jake's comments, convincing myself that he meant well. But as the weeks passed, they became impossible to brush off. "We should start meal prepping again," he'd say, watching me eat a snack. Or, "I saw this new workout program. Maybe we could do it together? His words were always framed as suggestions, but the meaning behind them was clear. He wasn't just encouraging me to be healthy. He was pushing me to look like I did before pregnancy. The worst part was that I wasn't unhappy with myself. Sure, my body was different, softer, heavier, but I had just given birth. I didn't feel lazy or out of control. I felt like a mother who was healing. My maternity clothes were comfortable, and I had no interest in squeezing into my old jeans just to prove something. But Jake didn't see it that way. One night, as I folded a pair of leggings, he sighed and said, "I just don't want you to let yourself go." Froze. The words hit me harder than I expected. Let myself go. As if I had given up. As if taking care of our newborn instead of obsessing over my weight was some kind of failure. I looked at him, searching for any sign of understanding, but there was none. "I'm recovering, Jake," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "This isn't about letting myself go." But he just shook his head, unconvinced. It wasn't just words either. He started acting differently. Less affectionate, more distant. He stopped making casual touches when he walked past me. Stopped complimenting me like he used to. One night, I reached for his hand while we watched TV, and he pulled away, pretending not to notice. Stung. I had given him everything. Our son, my time, my energy. And yet, all he seemed to care about was the number on the scale. I tried to talk to him again, to make him understand how much his words hurt. But every conversation ended the same way, with him saying he was just trying to help, and that I was being too sensitive. It was exhausting, constantly defending my own body to the person who was supposed to love me unconditionally. And for the first time in our marriage, I started to wonder, if I never lost the weight, if I never went back to the girl he married, would he still love me? I thought Jake's comments were bad enough, but I wasn't prepared for what came next. One afternoon, after putting Noah down for a nap, I walked into our bedroom and found my maternity clothes missing. Confused, I checked the laundry, then the closet, then the dresser, nothing. My heart started pounding as I searched the house, only to find a trash bag near the door, stuffed with my leggings, oversized sweaters, and loose-fitting tops. My stomach dropped. The sound of the front door opening made me turn. Jake walked in, acting like nothing was wrong. "Where are my clothes?" I asked, my voice tight. He barely looked up. "I got rid of them," he said casually, like he hadn't just thrown away the only clothes that made me feel comfortable in my postpartum body. "You don't need them anymore," he added. "It's time to start wearing real clothes again." My hands were shaking. He actually thought this was okay. I couldn't even process my anger before I noticed something else. My snacks were gone too. The granola bars I kept for quick energy, the dark chocolate I had as a small treat, even the protein shakes I drank when I was too busy taking care of Noah to eat a full meal. "You threw away my food?" I asked, my voice rising. Jake sighed, as if I was the one being unreasonable. "You don't need that stuff," he said. "I'm helping you get back on track." Something inside me snapped. This wasn't about health. This was control. He wasn't supporting me, he was punishing me for not meeting his expectations. "Do you even hear yourself?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You're treating me like some project that needs to be fixed. Like I'm broken." But Jake just crossed his arms. "I just want what's best for you," he said, like he was doing me a favor. I had never felt so disrespected in my life. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to make him understand how deeply he had hurt me. But instead, I just stood there, feeling a cold realization settle over me. This wasn't just a disagreement. It wasn't something we could talk through and move past. Jake had made it clear. My comfort, my healing, my choices didn't matter to him. And if that was the case, I needed to start thinking about what was best for me. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Noah's soft breaths in his crib. My mind was racing, replaying everything. Jake's comments, his coldness, the way he had thrown away my things like my feelings didn't matter. A part of me still wanted to believe this was fixable, that if I just explained myself the right way, he would finally understand. But deep down I knew the truth. He didn't want to understand. For years I had been the one adjusting, the one compromising, the one making room for him in my life. But when I needed even the smallest bit of grace, he refused to give it. And if he couldn't support me now, when I was at my most vulnerable, what would happen in the future? Would I always have to fight for his approval? Would Noah grow up seeing his father treat me like I was never good enough? That thought terrified me more than anything. So I made a decision. While Jake was asleep, I packed a bag for myself and Noah. Just the essentials, diapers, bottles, a few changes of clothes. My hands trembled as I zipped it up, but I didn't hesitate. I wasn't leaving in anger. I was leaving because I deserved better. Noah deserved better. I had spent so long trying to hold on to the version of Jake I fell in love with, but that man wasn't here anymore. Maybe he never really was. Before I walked out the door, I took one last look at him. He was sleeping soundly, completely unaware that everything was about to change. A part of me hoped he would wake up and realize what he had done, that he would finally see how much he had pushed me away. But I wasn't holding my breath. I had spent too much time waiting for him to be the person I needed. I wasn't going to wait anymore. As I stepped outside into the cool night air, a strange sense of peace settled over me. I had no idea what the future held, where I would go, what I would do. But for the first time in a long time, I felt in control of my own life. And that was enough. Noah stirred in my arms, and I pressed a kiss to his forehead, whispering a silent promise to him. "We're going to be okay.